Listen to me closely, because the next few minutes may end up deciding the way the next few years of your life unfold. I'm not here to whisper sweet nothings you can scroll past. I'm here to grab you by the shoulders and shake you awake in the best way, because you have a life to build, a calling to answer, and a destiny to fulfill. And right now, you're letting small, shiny, harmless looking distractions pickpocket your future. You're not losing to lack of talent. You're not losing to lack of opportunity. You're not even losing to lack of time. You're losing to the thousand paper cuts of distraction that look painless in the moment and deadly in the total. I want you to feel how precious your attention is. I want you to taste the urgency of protecting it. Because if you don't, your distractions aren't just stealing your minutes. They're robbing the blueprint of your destiny. You know the feeling. You sit down to work, to write, to study, to practice, to plan. You're serious this time. You open the laptop, you lay out your notes, you take a breath, then ding, then buzz, then a tab you didn't close, then a thought about something you forgot to order, then a sudden, overwhelming urge to check something trivial for just a second. And there it goes, the golden hour of focus you were about to invest in your dream. You don't even notice the theft in real time. It happens in slices. 30 seconds here, 2 minutes there, a quick refresh, a quick DM, a quick laugh, a quick comment, and by the time you look up, you can't figure out where your drive went. You're not lazy. You're not incapable. You're simply outgunned by a world engineered to monetize your attention. And I'm here to remind you this: nothing will change until you take your attention back like it's oxygen. Think about how we treat valuables. If you had a case of rare diamonds, you wouldn't leave it open on a street corner while you stepped into a cafe. You'd guard it. You'd build a safe. You'd hire security. But your attention, your one non-renewable resource, the ingredient that flavors everything you do, you leave it completely unguarded in a world that wants to devour it. Your destiny is a cathedral you build brick by brick. And attention is the mortar between those bricks. Lose the mortar and the walls never stand. So here's the truth: your dream isn't complicated, it's starved. It's starving for uninterrupted time, starving for deep work, starving for deliberate practice, starving for consistency and the quiet intensity that comes from being fully present with something that matters. Let's get honest. Distraction doesn't just delay achievement, it rewrites identity. Every time you cave, you communicate to yourself, my impulses are stronger than my intentions. Every time you finish a shallow loop of scrolling and feel that hollow emptiness, it's because you avoided the tension where growth lives. That tension is sacred. It's the resistance that turns soft hands into calloused ones, amateurs into professionals, wanderers into warriors. You don't avoid tension, you use it. An athlete doesn't build muscle by avoiding the burn. They chase it. A writer doesn't find voice by avoiding the blank page, they confront it. A leader doesn't earn trust by avoiding hard conversations, they step into them. If you keep choosing the relief of distraction over the discomfort of growth, you will end up with a comfortable day and a regretful decade. Imagine your future self 5, 10 years from now walking into the room you're in. They shake their head, not out of anger, but out of heartbreak, because they know what was possible. They know what you could have built if you had protected your mornings, if you had treated your attention like a sanctuary, if you had allowed boredom to ferment into brilliance. People think genius is lightning. Sometimes, sure, but more often genius is a slow, cooked stew of attention over time. No recipe survives if you keep lifting the lid every minute to taste it. Keep the lid on. Let your focus simmer. Give your destiny time to thicken. When you were a kid, you could get lost in play for hours. You built worlds out of cardboard, stories out of nothing, empires out of Lego. No phone, no feed, no flood of notifications. Just pure, uninterrupted immersion. That ability isn't gone. It's buried. You still have the muscle for deep attention. It's been deconditioned by the treadmill of tiny dopamine hits, but muscles remember. Train them again. And the first rep is not elegant, it's refusal. Refuse the bait. Refuse the little hooks. Refuse to fragment your mind across a dozen windows and expect clarity to magically emerge. Your mind is like a lens. Scatter it and the light weakens. Concentrate it and it can ignite. You don't need more hours, you need fewer leaks. Consider a boat crossing the ocean. If there's a hole in the hull and water is pouring in, the solution isn't to install a bigger sail or to beg the wind to blow harder. The solution is to patch the hole. Distraction is the hole in your hull. Patch it and you'll be amazed at the speed you already have. You think your destiny requires some secret technique, some hidden mentor, some magical software. Maybe those help, but the real leverage is less glamorous. It's the discipline of saying no to what's easy so you can say yes to what matters. Let me be explicit, the world will not reward your potential. It will reward your output. Potential is a promise, output is proof. And output requires sustained attention across time, not bursts, not inspiration spikes. Not when I feel like it. Destiny belongs to those who build a rhythm strong enough to carry them through the days they don't feel like it. The most dangerous lie distraction tells is, you can do it later. Later is a myth that dissolves into never. If it matters, it's now. Not all day now. Not martyrdom, not hustle theater. Just the next deeply intentional block of time you're willing to defend like a lion guarding a cub. And if you're thinking, but I need my breaks, I need my connection, I need my entertainment, I'm not arguing against joy. I'm arguing against mindless consumption that hijacks the time you owe your dream. Entertainment is dessert. Earn it. Use it to refuel, not to escape the work that would give you a life you don't need to escape from. The shows will still be there after your session. The memes will still be there. The thread will still be arguing with itself at midnight tomorrow. But the opportunity to grow your craft today, this hour, this very minute, won't be. The window closes. The compound interest of today's focused hour either accrues or evaporates. This is finance for your future. I invest in focus and you retire into fulfillment, invest in distraction and you retire into regret. Let's talk about the biology under the poetry. Your brain's reward system loves novelty. Every ping, every flashing badge, every new message, every cliffhanger headline drips dopamine into your system. Not enough to satisfy, just enough to keep you seeking. That's the trap. The seeking itself becomes the reward, not the finding. So you hop from island to island, never settling long enough to harvest anything of value. Meanwhile, deep work, writing the chapter, training the body, building the business, practicing the craft, provides dopamine too, but it's delayed. It demands friction up front. It makes you climb. But once you crest that hill and feel momentum kick in, there's a high that cheap novelty can't touch. That high is competence. That high is progress. That high is self-respect. So I want you to try something. Picture your destiny as a voice. Not a shout, just a steady call with your name on it. That voice is competing with a stadium of noise. It doesn't try to outshout the crowd. It waits for you to step outside and listen. That step is your boundary. It's the moment you tell the world, I am unavailable for shallow things because I am devoted to a deeper thing. It's the moment you put the phone in another room, turn on a focus timer, shut the door, silence the notifications, and make a promise you keep for the next 45 minutes. I will be here. Completely. At first it's awkward. At first your fingers twitch towards shortcuts. Breathe. Notice the urge and let it pass like a wave. Return to the work. 10 minutes in, you'll feel a thread. 20 minutes in, it becomes a rope. 40 minutes in, a cable. And once you're attached, distraction has to fight harder to pull you away. That fight gets weaker each session because identity follows action. You will become the kind of person who does not abandon themselves mid-sentence. I know some of you are thinking, but my life is chaotic. Kids, jobs, responsibilities, emergencies. I respect that. This is not about having a monk's schedule. It's about creating a warrior's pocket of attention in the life you already have. If all you can protect is 30 minutes, then protect 30 minutes like a dragon sitting on gold. If your home is loud, wake up earlier or carve a pocket at night. If your day is fragmented, stack micro sprints of focus and let them compound. Destiny does not demand perfection, it demands persistence. The art isn't in the length of your session, it's in the quality. 10 minutes of pure attention beats 2 hours of fractured pretending. And when you collect enough blocks of pure attention, you will look back and whisper, so this is what progress feels like. Here's the last thing I want you to swallow before we move forward. Distraction is not neutral. It trains you. Every act is a rep. You're either strengthening the muscle of focus or the muscle of escape. And muscles don't care about your excuses. They only respond to what you repeatedly do. If you constantly quit when it's inconvenient, you're building a future in which quitting is your default. If you constantly lean back into the work when it's inconvenient, you're building a future where resilience is your default. Which future do you want? The answer isn't in your mouth, it's in your minutes. Your destiny is more than a dream, it's a direction. And directions are followed not with passion alone, but with attention, action, and the discipline to stay when leaving would be easier. Now let's get very practical because inspiration without implementation is just vapor. You don't need a new personality to beat distraction. You need a small set of powerful rituals that make focus your normal state. Start with a daily appointment with your destiny, not a casual window, an appointment. Set it in your calendar. Give it a name that demands respect. Build the future, craft the book, train for excellence, study for mastery. Protect it like you would a meeting with someone you deeply admire. Because you are meeting someone, you should admire your future self. Before the session, prepare the arena. Close the tabs you don't need. Put the phone in another room. Use website blockers if you must. That's not weakness, it's wisdom. Clear your desk, fill your water. Choose your track or your silence. Then begin. Rituals are how humans switch states. Make a ritual that tells your brain, we are entering sacred work now. During the session, expect turbulence, expect boredom, expect the moment where the work feels too heavy or too slow. That moment isn't a sign to quit. It's a sign that the old habit of distraction is trying to reclaim its territory. Smile at it. Don't argue with it. Return to the next sentence, the next rep, the next problem. When your mind wanders, don't self-hate, self-return. If you drift 100 times, return 100 times. You're not just doing the work, you're rebuilding the circuitry of attention. Every return is a rep, and the more reps you have, the stronger the habit becomes. When you finish, don't sprint back to the noise. End thoughtfully. Write a quick note to your future self about where to pick up next time. That small act reduces friction for your next session and keeps momentum alive. Then step away, move your body, speak with someone you love, or enjoy a piece of music. Celebrate the micro win. Dopamine loves closure. Give your brain the reward of completion. I did what I said I would do. That sentence is a quiet revolution. It reshapes your self-image from someone who tries to someone who delivers. And identity is destiny. When you start identifying as a focused builder, distractions bounce off a different surface. They're not just inconvenient, they're incompatible. Let's talk about the emotional side of distraction. Many distractions dress as entertainment, but some are actually anesthesia. We scroll to numb anxiety, we hop to avoid shame, we procrastinate because progress threatens our self-concept. If we truly try, what if we're not as good as we hope? If we truly apply, what if we still fail? So we relieve ourselves with small, safe, reversible actions that carry no risk of exposing our limits. But destiny requires exposure. It requires that you put your gift in the arena where it can be tested, refined, and seen. Avoidance keeps you comfortable and unknown. Courage makes you visible, and visibility makes you vulnerable. And vulnerability is the bridge to greatness. You can't write a song and keep it in the drawer forever. You can't train for a championship and refuse to compete. You can't rehearse a speech endlessly and never deliver it. The medicine is in the doing, not the dreaming. So if distraction is really fear in disguise, meet the fear with structure. Decide in advance what you'll do when the urge hits. A tiny plan beats a huge intention. For example, when I feel the itch to check my phone, I'll first take 3 deep breaths, read the sentence I'm working on, and write one more sentence before I touch anything. That's an if-then rule, a mental algorithm. It creates a gap between impulse and action and fills the gap with purposeful behavior. Another example, when I get stuck on a problem for more than 5 minutes, I will write down the exact question I'm trying to answer, list 3 possible next steps, pick one, and try it for 10 minutes. You're not waiting for motivation, you're deploying a protocol. Professionals use protocols when emotions run hot. Pilots, surgeons, firefighters, they don't wing it when stress spikes. They follow the checklist. Bring that mindset to your craft. Of course, we can't ignore environment. Willpower is a battery. Environments are power grids. Set yours to feed focus. Remove the obvious temptations. Notifications off by default. Social apps off your primary device. Email windows closed during deep work. Entertainment apps logged out or uninstalled from your work machine. Keep tools and notes ready so friction is low. Create a visual cue that signals focus time, a certain lamp, a particular playlist, a hoodie, a mug, anything that becomes a switch. And remember, environments include people. If your circle mocks your focus or normalizes constant distraction, love them but limit their influence during your build windows. Find or form a small community where deep work is celebrated. Momentum is contagious. Get close to people who are moving. I also want you to understand the timetable of mastery because impatience is a distraction generator. When results don't appear as quickly as we want, we seek stimulation elsewhere and call it taking a break, when in reality we're running from the plateau where growth hides. All meaningful work contains long stretches of invisible progress. A musician repeats scales, a coder refactors, a teacher refines lesson plans, a designer iterates dozens of versions you'll never see. Those hours look quiet from the outside and heroic from the inside. The reward is not just the result, it's the person you become by staying. You develop patience, precision, intuition, confidence. You start trusting the process. You start believing that if you can hold your attention steady, the work will eventually blossom. That belief is rocket fuel on the days when motivation is thin. Let's address the siren song of multitasking. It sounds efficient, it feels modern, it looks impressive, it's a fraud. Your brain can't hold two complex tasks in active focus at once. It toggles and toggling taxes. Every switch leaks time and quality. You think you're doing two things in 1 hour, but you're really doing each thing with the cognitive equivalent of a limp. The cure is not simply do one thing, but design one thing at a time. Batch your responses. Batch your shallow work. Give your creative work discrete, defended blocks. If you must split the day, split it cleanly. Mornings for making, afternoons for managing, or vice versa. Just don't stitch them together every 3 minutes and expect excellence to survive. There's a deeper spiritual layer I want to touch, too. Destiny isn't only about career. It's about the contribution your life is meant to make. You have a constellation of talents, experiences, scars, and perspectives that make you uniquely qualified to solve certain problems and serve certain people. Your attention is how you aim that constellation. If you scatter your attention, your light never coalesces. When you align it, your impact is not incremental, it's exponential. Perhaps your destiny is to build a company that dignifies people with meaningful work. Perhaps it's to create music that gives language to the emotions others can't articulate. Perhaps it's to champion a cause, invent a tool, raise a family with unusual love, or teach in a way that wakes students up for life. All of those require a river of attention flowing in one direction. Don't let that river trickle into 100 puddles that evaporate by noon. And let's be compassionate with ourselves while we get strong. Some days you will lose. Some days distraction wins the round. That doesn't mean distraction wins the fight. Champions don't pretend they never get hit. They commit to getting back up. If you notice you've lost an hour, don't lose the day. If you lose the day, don't lose the week. Shrink the rebound time. Return to your ritual. Do one honest session to re-anchor your identity. Forgive fast, refocus faster. The old pattern will try to shame you into quitting. Shame is a terrible coach. Truth is a better one. I stepped off the path. I am stepping back on now. That is how you stack wins again. Finally, imagine the compound effect 12 months from today. If you do nothing different, you'll have more of what you have, more half-finished beginnings, more tabs open in your mind, more creative guilt, more potential unexpressed. But if you protect even 90 minutes of deep work 5 days a week for a year, that's nearly 400 focused hours. 400 hours is a book drafted and edited. It's a small business prototyped and launched. It's a degree's worth of self-education. It's a body transformed by deliberate training. It's a portfolio built, a channel grown, a skill mastered. Don't underestimate what a handful of fiercely protected hours can do to the trajectory of your life. Your destiny doesn't need your entire day. It needs the best of your day. Consistently, chunk 3W1 2000's words. I want to bring you into a scene because sometimes a story lands where a sermon can't. There was an old craftsman in a small town, famous for restoring grand pianos. People shipped instruments from across the country to his modest workshop because he had a reputation for bringing dead wood back to singing life. A young musician, hungry and impatient, visited the craftsman with a battered piano. "Can you fix it?" he asked. "I have a concert in a month." The craftsman ran his fingers along the keys, pressed a few chords, listened to the dull thud where music should bloom. He nodded slowly. "It can sing again," he said, "but not in a month." The musician frowned. "Why not?" The craftsman smiled. "Because the wood must learn to listen again." He explained that great pianos don't just need new strings, they need the soundboard, an inner heart of wood, to be retuned to resonance. That resonance isn't installed, it's cultivated. It happens when tension is added and allowed to settle, when the instrument is tuned and played and tuned again, when the fibers align in harmony over time. "You can't rush resonance," the craftsman said. "You can force noise fast, but music requires patience. Your destiny is like that piano. Distraction can give you noise right now, new stimuli, new posts, new drama, new gossip. But resonance comes from patiently stretching your capacity, allowing yourself to settle into deeper focus, tuning your craft repeatedly until something inside you aligns with the work and starts to sing. When the musician finally returned months later, he touched the keys and wept. The piano hadn't just been fixed, it had been reawakened. That's your task, not just to fix your schedule, but to reawaken your resonance. Let's confront a brutal but liberating reality. Most of your distractions are chosen. That's good news. What you choose, you can unchoose. You are not a victim of your phone, you are its author. You decide where it lives during your sacred hours. You decide what apps remain installed, which notifications are allowed to knock, Which platforms earn your presence? You decide if your home screen is a candy store or a toolbox. You decide whether your morning begins with other people's agendas or your own. And if you think, but what about my job? Understand, choosing focus doesn't mean ignoring responsibilities, it means structuring them. You can have communication windows without being permanently on call to the world. You can have response times without making your brain a revolving door. You can be reachable without being interruptible. If you want a rule that slices through most of your trouble, try this: attention first, reception later. Mornings are for output, writing, designing, building, practicing, thinking. Afternoons receive meetings, messages, logistics, errands. If your life flips the other way, that's fine. Flip the rule too. The principle stands: give your best brain to your best work before the world claims it. That one shift can change everything, because when you feed your craft first, the rest of the day gains meaning. You're no longer negotiating with yourself about whether you'll make progress. You already have. You carry a quiet confidence that makes you more generous with others. You become less desperate for distraction because you've tasted a better reward. Here's another battlefield you must master: your inner narrative. Distraction often rides in on the back of certain thoughts. This is too hard. I'm not getting anywhere. I need to know what's happening. I deserve a break. I work better under pressure. Some of those statements contain slivers of truth twisted into excuses. Rephrase them into power language. This is challenging becomes this is training me. I'm not getting anywhere becomes I'm laying foundations I'll stand on later. I need to know what's happening becomes I need to build what I can control. I deserve a break becomes I will rest after I complete this block. I work better under pressure becomes I create pressure by setting a clear, short deadline right now. Words matter because they decide the atmosphere inside your head. Choose an atmosphere where focus can breathe. And don't underestimate the role of your body. A foggy mind often belongs to a neglected body. Sleep like your destiny depends on it, because it does. Most people don't have an attention problem, they have an exhaustion problem. Hydrate, move, feed yourself real food that doesn't send your energy on a roller coaster. Take short walks between sessions. Protect your posture. Treat your brain like an athlete treats a muscle. You wouldn't ask your legs to sprint while starved and sleep deprived. Why ask your prefrontal cortex to do miracles under those conditions? The basics are not boring, they're baseline. When you honor them, focus feels less like a fight and more like a natural state. Some of you are creators in the digital world, and you fear that reducing your intake will make you less relevant or less inspired. Understand the difference between intentional research and endless grazing. Research is scheduled, bounded, tied to a specific objective, and concluded with notes you'll use. Grazing is open-ended, mood-driven, and concluded with a vague feeling that you caught up. If inspiration is what you seek, remember that output multiplies inspiration more than input does. The more you create, the more your brain notices patterns worth exploring. The more you ship, the more feedback you get. The more you practice, the more interesting questions appear. Creation is a lighthouse, consumption is a lantern. A lighthouse draws opportunities to you. Let me give you a small mental picture for the next time a distraction tempts you. Imagine you're standing in front of two doors. One door is neon, lit, loud, promising instant fun. Behind it is a room you've visited 100 times. It looks different at first, but after a few minutes you realize it's the same hallway of recycled content. You exit feeling emptier than you entered. The other door is plain, heavy, quiet. Behind it is the workshop of your destiny, half-finished pieces, tools waiting, silence that hums with possibility. The first door offers a peak now and a valley later. The second offers a climb now and a summit later. Every urge to check, to scroll, to ping is an invitation to choose the door you already know leads to the valley. Smile, thank the invitation, and choose the climb. I need you to consider the impact of your example. Someone is watching you, children, siblings, friends, coworkers, a younger version of you that lives in the minds of people who need what you're building. When you model shallow distraction, you normalize wasted potential. When you model fierce focus, you normalize excellence. Legacy is not a speech you give at the end. It's a pattern you live every day. Imagine the text someone sends because you did your work. Your song helped me through a dark season. Your product saved me hours each week. Your book made me feel seen. Your project gave me a job. Your video inspired me to try again. Those messages are destiny speaking back to you. They are not born from scattered afternoons. They are born from choosing the workshop over the hallway again and again and again. As we move toward a close, I want to leave you with a tangible challenge. For the next 7 days, choose one block of time, minimum 45 minutes, maximum 2 hours, where you go completely dark to the world and bright to your work. Zero notifications, phone in another room, doors closed, tools ready, a specific target set, pages written, problems solved, reps completed, modules learned. At the end of each session, write 1 or 2 sentences about what moved forward and what you'll do next time. That's it. No drama, no perfectionism, just the ritual. After 7 days, notice what changed. Notice the calm. Notice the pride. Notice how the rest of life feels less chaotic because one part is ordered. That feeling is not an accident. It's what happens when you stop letting distractions destroy your destiny. If you do this, your life will start to tilt toward purpose. The noise won't disappear, but it will get quieter where it counts. The world will still spin, but you'll stand. You'll become the kind of person whose presence steadies the room because you've steadied yourself. And your work, the real work, will accumulate where everyone can see. People will call you lucky. You'll smile because you'll know the secret. You weren't lucky. You were loyal. Loyal to your calling. Loyal to your ritual. Loyal to your destiny. There's a story I once heard about an archer who trained in a mountain village. He could hit the bull's eye from remarkable distances until the day a wise elder placed a single bell beside the target. Shoot, the elder said. The archer drew, released, and missed. Again and again, missed. What did you change? The archer demanded. The elder smiled. I asked the bell keeper to ring the bell at random, right as you're releasing the arrow. The archer glared. So, the bell is far away. The elder rested a hand on his shoulder. The bell is not far, he said. It is in your head. That is the essence of distraction. The bell is not out there. It's in here. It is the echoing noise we carry into every release, every attempt, every moment where a clean shot is possible. Your destiny isn't waiting for the world to be quiet. It's waiting for you to learn how to shoot while the bell rings and eventually to stop ringing it yourself. You may not feel like an archer, but you are. Your arrow is your effort. Your bow is your process. Your target is the life you want to live and the work you're uniquely meant to do. If the bell in your head rings every time you draw, every time you begin, you will keep missing, not because you lack skill, but because you lack stillness. So we practice stillness not as an indulgence, but as a performance enhancer. We practice single tasking not to be old-fashioned, but to be effective. We practice silence not to be mysterious, but to hear the faint sound that guides the next right action. The bell rings less when you stop feeding it. It fades when you stop rehearsing the habit of checking. You don't eliminate the world, you eliminate your permission for it to own you. Some will say, what if my distractions are people? What if the chaos is coming from family, co-workers? Interruptions I can't control. I hear you. Destiny does not ask you to abandon the people you love or the duties you carry. It asks you to renegotiate the terms. Clear boundaries are acts of love because they allow you to bring your best self when you are available. Start with clarity. From 6 to 7 a.m. I'm offline so I can write. From 8 to 9 p.m. I'm in the garage training. From 1 and 2 p.m. I'm learning. I'll respond afterward. You'd be surprised how many interruptions vanish when people know exactly when they can reach you. Those who resist your boundaries are often the ones benefiting from your boundarylessness. Hold steady. You're not choosing selfishness. You're choosing stewardship. You're stewarding the gift that, when mature, will serve those same people better. Your relationship with your tools matters too. Technology can be a scalpel or a siren depending on how you hold it. If you open your device and 9 apps are tugging on your sleeve before your intention even boots up, you're starting behind. Design a default that honors destiny, a home screen with only the essentials for creation, social or entertainment apps quarantined in folders that require intentional swipes, notifications off by default, on by exception, a separate log in for deep work with nothing installed except what moves the mission. Use rituals like airplane mode until first milestone or phone parked in the kitchen while I'm in the office. These are not quirks, they're armor. And armor isn't heavy when you're heading into battle, it's relief. Let's talk about identity drift because distraction doesn't just make you late, it makes you loose. You start a day as a builder and end it as a browser. You start a week as an athlete and end it as a spectator. That drift corrodes self-respect. Reversing it requires small vows you keep with yourself. Vows like, I start and finish my focus block no matter how I feel. I don't negotiate with notifications. When I'm tempted to bail, I do one more honest minute. These vows don't make you rigid. They make you trustworthy, especially to yourself. And the moment you trust yourself, your pace changes. You stop sprinting to compensate for guilt and start striding because integrity carries you. Another enemy disguised as productivity is the obsession with optimization before momentum. You reorganize the desk, rewrite the system, choose a new app, refine the calendar color, code the calendar, sync the calendar to the other calendar. Weeks pass and the work hasn't moved. Don't let perfect processes poison your progress. Start messy, accurate, and imperfect tools, clean intention, clear deadline. Once momentum is alive, refine. A sculptor doesn't polish air, they chisel stone into form, then sand and shine. Your focus block is where you chisel. Your review block is where you polish. Keep those roles distinct, and you won't lose weeks polishing what doesn't yet exist. Here is a truth that mends the anxiety most of us carry. You do not need to win the whole day to change your destiny. You need to win the decisive part. For many, it's the first 90 minutes after you sit down to create. Guard that window as if a championship hangs on it, because it does. Every day carries a pivotal moment where your path forks one road into drift, one road into depth. If you stake your claim early, the day obeys. If you surrender early, the day gets slippery. There's a calm confidence that spreads through your body when you nail the decisive part. Emails feel less urgent. Meetings feel less threatening. The world can swirl and you're anchored because your destiny already got fed. You might wonder, what if the work I'm doing isn't glamorous? What if my destiny feels ordinary? Hear me, ordinary is not the opposite of destiny, indifference is. Extraordinary lives are built out of exceptionally focused ordinary units. The teacher who transforms a classroom doesn't magically conjure genius. She prepares each lesson with care and shows up with presence, day after day. The nurse who becomes a legend on a ward doesn't own a secret medication. He pays precise attention to patients and details shift after shift. The craftsperson who becomes a master doesn't stumble into prestige. He attends to edges, joints, finishes patiently. Destiny is less a lightning bolt and more a steady current that carves canyons given time. Your job is to keep the current flowing by directing your attention where it matters most, especially when it feels small. Let's step into the psychological mechanics of temptation. Every urge to divert has a shape cue: craving, response, reward. If you can't yet dissolve the cue, redesign the response. When you feel the craving, name it out loud. There's the itch to check. Naming diffuses power. Then change your body language. Sit up, exhale slow, drop your shoulders. Movement interrupts momentum. Immediately re-engage your hands with the task. Type the next sentence, sketch the next line, lift the next rep, run the next drill. Hands pull the mind back. If the urge persists, give it a scheduled place later. I'll scroll for 15 minutes at 4:30 after I finish this section and write it on a sticky note. Your brain relaxes knowing the desire isn't banished, merely delayed. Over weeks, the craving learns that it cannot bully you away from the work. It must wait its turn. That is how sovereignty feels. Sometimes the deepest distraction is comparison, the sideways glance that arrests forward motion. You start doing the math no one asked you to do: their followers versus yours, their timeline versus yours, their highlight versus your rehearsal. Comparison doesn't just steal joy, it steals attention. Reclaim it with a simple mantra: eyes on my lane, hands on my work. The only comparison that nourishes is with your previous self. Measure against who you were last month. Are you more focused now? Are your sessions longer, cleaner, calmer? Are you shipping more? Are you proud of your precision? That's a scoreboard that compounds in your favor. Remember, some oaks take longer to rise because their roots are deep. The internet rewards speed, destiny rewards depth. Choose your reward wisely. There will be days when your environment is loud no matter what you do. On those days, become a student of microfocus. Instead of bemoaning the chaos, harvest the pockets. 10 minutes while the kettle boils. 8 minutes in the parking lot before you walk in. 15 minutes while the baby naps. Pull up the small task that moves a big task forward. Outline 3 bullets. Refactor 1 function, practice 1 tricky bar of the song, learn 1 definition, write 1 paragraph. Small pockets generate surprising momentum when you choose them over surrender. Think of these pockets as stitches. Enough stitches and the fabric holds, even under stress. A practice that ties all of this together is the evening reset. Not a marathon, just 15 minutes to close the loop on your day and prime the next. Write down what you moved forward. Gratitude the wins. Note 1 friction point to solve. Set out the first tool you'll touch tomorrow, the book open to the right page, the instrument on its stand, the draft open with a start har. Note at the top, the shoes by the door, the dumbbells in the space. Then sleep with intention, dark room, cool air, consistent time. You are not a machine you cram full of tasks. You are a living system that thrives on rhythms. Respect the rhythm and focus becomes a tide you can surf instead of a storm you must survive. Let's return to the bell and the arrow for a moment. What happened to the archer? He trained with the bell for weeks. At first, he fought it. Then he ignored it. Finally, he incorporated it. Each ring became the exhale. The sound that used to snatch his attention became the signal to release. That is the endgame of focus. The very triggers that once derailed you become cues that center you. The buzz on the table becomes your reminder to breathe and stay. The sudden thought becomes your cue to capture it on paper and return. The noise outside becomes the soundtrack to your discipline. You're not waiting for silence, you've created it inside. I want you to imagine the moment, months from now, when the first undeniable fruit shows up. A finished draft sent to an agent, a prototype demoed to a customer. An audition nailed, a certificate earned, a personal record set, a first client served, a bank account that reflects your new habits, a child who notices that you are truly there when you play. That moment will not taste like luck. It will taste like alignment. You'll remember the mornings you defended. You'll remember the evenings you reset. You'll remember the little no's that made room for a bigger yes. You will see how your destiny didn't arrive. It emerged the way a sculpture emerges from marble when a sculptor refuses to be distracted from what the stone wants to become. And if you're still tempted to believe that your distractions are harmless, consider this: every distraction you indulge is a vote for a future in which you are slightly less yourself. Every focus session you honor is a vote for a future in which you are unmistakably yourself. This is not moralism, it's math. Votes add up. What are you voting for with your minutes today? The ballot is in your hand. You can choose the candidate of convenience who promises entertainment now and emptiness later. Or you can choose the candidate of purpose who demands effort now and delivers meaning later. The campaign never stops, but neither does your power to choose. So when you close this video and the world floods in with its bells and banners and bait, don't panic. Smile like someone who knows the game. Walk to your workshop. Shut the door. Pick up your bow. Draw until the string hums with possibility. The bell may ring, let it exhale, release, and watch your arrow fly straighter than it ever has, because this time, you didn't let your distractions destroy your destiny. You turned discipline into your destiny, one focused minute at a time. There is a rhythm to destinies that endure, and it begins long before the crowd notices. It begins in rooms where no cameras are pointed, in mornings when no one is awake to clap, in evenings where the only applause is the click of a door closing behind you as you enter your chosen sanctuary. I want you to feel that rhythm in your chest. Imagine the hum of a workshop before dawn, the smell of wood or coffee, the soft rasp of paper under your hands, the quiet readiness of tools in their places. There's a holiness to that stillness. Step into it often enough and it becomes a home you carry inside, a place you can return to even when the world is loud. The opposite of distraction is not just focus, it is belonging. When you belong to your craft, the noise outside feels like weather, present, but not defining. You take your coat, you do your work, and the storm passes while the work remains. Picture a runner at the starting blocks. Total stillness. On the outside, nothing moves. On the inside, everything is coiled, attention narrowed to a lane, breath measured, muscles braided with intention. Destiny favors that kind of stillness, the poised readiness that can explode into motion at the sound of a single signal. Your signals are of your own making: the timer you press, the door you shut, the lamp you turn on, the playlist that begins, the prayer you whisper. Rituals aren't superstition, they are switches. Every time you flip one, you tell your nervous system, this is what we do here. Over time, your body learns, your mind arrives faster. Your doubts show up later and leave earlier. It's not magic, it's pattern. But let's acknowledge the tug of war inside. Even as you cultivate ritual, there's a voice that bargains. You've done enough. Take the rest of the day. Or, if you can't do 2 hours, why bother with 20 minutes? That is the perfectionist disguised as a friend. It speaks in absolutes to keep you from accumulating relatives, relative progress, relative mastery, relative courage. If the ideal day doesn't appear, it tells you the real day is worthless. You must learn to love incomplete victories. They are the atoms of excellence. 20 honest minutes today are better than 2 theoretical hours that never arrive. If you only ever trained on perfect days, you'd be a tourist in your own life, visiting discipline when the weather is right. But builders work through seasons. They plant in spring, tend in summer, harvest in autumn, repair in winter. Each season asks for a different expression of attention. All 4 are sacred. There's a story about a lighthouse keeper who lived on a treacherous coastline. The government issued him a fixed supply of oil each month to keep the lamp burning through fog and storms. One winter, neighbors came asking for oil. First a family whose heating had failed, then a fisherman needing to mend his lamp, then a traveler caught at dusk. The keeper was kind, he shared from the lighthouse supply. At month's end, the lantern went dark, ships crashed, lives were lost. The keeper wrote, distraught, to his superiors, explaining that he'd only tried to help. The reply was swift, you were given oil for one purpose. The lesson is sharp, but necessary. Your attention is lighthouse oil. Use it first to keep your beacon lit, the work that guides others safely to shore. When your lamp burns steady, you will still be generous, but your generosity will not cost ships their passage. Keep your lamp alive. No one benefits from your burnout, and no one is rescued by your perpetual availability. People ask me, how do I know which work deserves my best attention? Listen for the double resonance. The work that challenges you and serves beyond you. Challenge without service can collapse into ego. Service without challenge can flatten into martyrdom. But when the two converge, when a task stretches your edges and lifts others, you've found a seam of destiny worth mining. Give it your prime hours. Treat it like a living thing that grows when you feed it and wilts when you neglect it. Watch how decisions simplify when you establish that priority. The question stops being, do I feel like it? And becomes, will this action strengthen the work that strengthens lives? Often, the answer is obvious, and it rarely includes another hour lost to the scroll. There will be critics of your new seriousness. Some will accuse you of being too intense. Now that you have boundaries, smile. They are reacting to the fact that you are no longer co-writing their script. Distraction loves company. Depth can feel like a mirror. Try not to preach at them. Instead, let results do the talking. When they ask how you are suddenly finishing projects, how your calm has increased, how your work has sharpened, share your ritual simply. Some will join you. Others will wander. Either way, your lane is clear. Do not confuse kindness with compliance. You can be warm and immovable at the same time. Let's examine impatience from a new angle. Impatience isn't only, I want results now. Often it is, I want relief now. Relief from uncertainty, from the ache of not yet being who you can become, from the tension of stretching beyond what's comfortable. And because relief is easier to buy in small, sugary doses than to earn in larger, nutritious meals, we keep snacking on distractions. But temporary relief is expensive when it is billed to your destiny with compound interest. Begin to crave a different relief, the relief that arrives when your session ends and you know you invested the hour honestly. That relief is clean. It leaves no residue of guilt. It tastes like alignment. Your body will start to prefer it if you feed it often enough. You will watch a new appetite form, the appetite for your own integrity. Some of you are starting a journey the people around you don't understand. They love the old you, the available at all times you, the always down to hang you the reply in seconds you. The new you goes dark for 90 minutes, leaves messages on read, says, after my session, says, I'll call tonight. You feel guilty? Let me reframe it. You are not becoming a worse friend or partner or parent. You are becoming a more reliable one. The person who protects their purpose shows up with more presence later. They're not half here, half there. They can listen without their mind clawing back toward unfinished work because the work was finished for the day. This is one of the quiet gifts of discipline. When you say yes, it is a whole yes. Now, a word about setbacks and relapses, because real life is wavy. Maybe you'll have a week where the pattern shatters. Travel, illness, family crisis, a project implodes. You fall back into old grooves. The algorithm in your pocket learns your face again, and suddenly your thumb knows the path to every app without your permission. Do not dramatize the setback. The difference between a stumble and a spiral is the story you tell about it. I blew it, I'm back at zero, breeds more distraction. I slipped, I'm returning today, pulls you upright. Return with something small and non-negotiable, a single focused block, a short walk in silence, a written note to your future self about why the work matters. Momentum likes humble doors, walk through one. A technique I love in those fragile returns is the first visible win. Choose a task whose completion you can see, not just feel. A page printed, a diagram drawn, a paragraph recorded, a riff recorded, a submission sent. Your brain delights in visible progress. It's like watching your own arrow land on the target after weeks of wobble. That sight loosens the knot of doubt and tightens the knot of commitment. Stack 2 or 3 visible wins and you'll hear a familiar internal sentence. I'm back. It is one of the most encouraging phrases in the language of destiny. You might be wondering how to scale this discipline as your responsibilities grow. The answer is not to become a hermit, it's to become a conductor. A conductor doesn't play every instrument. They guide the timing, protect the dynamics, and hold the theme. To scale focus, keep your hands on the baton of the essential and delegate the rest. Teach your team or family your rhythm. Share your focus windows and your availability windows. Empower others to make decisions that don't require your intervention. Create templates so repeated tasks don't steal creative energy. Most importantly, return to the theme, the why, so everyone knows the melody even when the music gets loud. When the theme is clear, small decisions take care of themselves. Distraction often fills the vacuum left by an unclear theme. There's a place in the desert where winds carve patterns into stone. Over years, the rock transforms into something you'd swear was sculpted by human hands. Arches and ribbons and chambers where sunlight pools like water. What did the wind do? It didn't hack at the stone. It didn't rage constantly. It returned, day after day, patient and directional, wearing away what didn't belong until beauty remained. That is you, not hacking at your life with bursts of unsustainable effort, but returning, patient, directional, until distraction has nothing left to grip and the shape of your destiny emerges. No billboard announces it. One day you look around and realize the room you work in feels different. Your calendar looks different. The conversations you have are deeper. The ideas you chase are bolder. The results you produce are cleaner. The desert has become a gallery, and the wind is your attention. I want to leave you in this chunk with an invitation so simple it's almost impolite to refuse. Take the very next hour you can reclaim and make it a ceremony. Say it out loud. This hour belongs to my destiny. Set a timer, 50 minutes, 75, 90. Remove what doesn't serve. Bring in what does. Begin. When the timer ends, stand up slowly and say, I kept my promise. Write the date somewhere you can see it. Do it again tomorrow, and again the day after. In a week, you'll have a small constellation of promises kept. In a month, you'll have a galaxy. In a year, when someone asks how you built what you built, you'll point to that sky and tell the truth. It wasn't a hack, it was a habit. It wasn't luck, it was loyalty. You did not let your distractions destroy your destiny because you decided, quietly, daily, that your destiny was worth defending. There's a truth about momentum that most people miss. It's not simply the residue of action, it's the atmosphere that action creates. Once you've protected a few honest hours, a subtle weather system forms around your life. The air gets thinner for excuses. Storms still roll in, emails, obligations, temptations, but they hit a different front and break apart sooner. You become someone whose default is doing, not delaying, deciding, not dithering, building, not browsing. And when people ask what changed, you won't point to a single dramatic event. You'll point to a new fidelity, to minutes that once leaked through your fingers like water. You'll talk about a quiet, almost private revolution, refusing to let your distractions destroy your destiny, even when no one was watching, especially when no one was watching. There's a moment in every craft when what used to be hard becomes your warm-up. At first, writing 2 paragraphs feels like scaling a cliff without ropes. Then it becomes the way you stretch before a longer climb. In the gym, a weight once terrifying becomes the load you move while thinking about form. On the instrument, a passage once impossible becomes where you rest your fingers as you consider the next phrase. This is the dividend of focus consistency. The ceiling of last month becomes the floor of this month. But here's the catch. If you keep interrupting yourself, the ceiling never lowers, the floor never rises, and you live in the same room year after year, decorating it differently to disguise the stasis. The fastest way to renovate your life is to stop walking out of the room every 5 minutes. I want you to remember the last time you lost track of time doing something that mattered. Hours evaporated. You looked up and the sun had tilted across the floor and the world had gone on without you. And you didn't feel left behind, you felt inducted. That state isn't mystical, it's methodical. It arrives when the challenge matches your skill, just on the edge, when your environment is engineered to allow immersion. When your brain trusts that it won't be yanked mid-sentence, mid-stroke, mid-solution. The opposite of this state isn't boredom, it's fragmentation. Fragmentation makes everything feel harder than it is because you're paying a restart tax each time. The tax compounds, the day becomes expensive. Your destiny can't afford those rates. You lower the rate by raising the bar on interruptions, including the ones you invite. There's a discipline few talk about because it lacks romance, finishing the unsexy middle. Beginnings sparkle with possibility, endings glow with satisfaction, the middle sags with doubt. The middle is where your plan meets your limits, where yesterday's inspiration stops paying today's bills, where you must apprentice yourself to patience. Distraction loves the middle because it knows your resolve is tender there. It whispers, open a new project, research a new tool, announce your intention publicly and harvest applause before any harvest exists. Resist. Keep turning the crank on the work at hand. In the middle, progress is often best measured not by visible leaps but by the sound your effort makes. Steady, rhythmic, honest. A metronome never looks impressive. It just keeps time until a symphony is possible. You will meet days when your emotions do not cooperate. You wake with a weight on your chest, a fog in your head, an ache behind your eyes. On those days, your destiny asks for a different kind of courage. Show up fractionally and faithfully. Instead of aiming for brilliance, aim for presence. Instead of hunting flow, aim for form. Do the warm up. Touch the work. Advance the smallest unit forward. You are not lowering your standards, you are honoring your humanity while protecting your trajectory. Many masterpieces were shepherded through mornings that felt like mud. The difference between those who ship and those who shelf isn't perpetual inspiration, it's stubborn attendance. Even when you can't give your best, give your available. It will surprise you how often available births adequate. Adequate evolves into engaged, and engaged tips, almost shyly, into excellent. Let's address a fear that haunts capable people: fear of finishing. Finishing forces a confrontation with judgment, your own and others. While you are working on it, your dream lives in a protected cloud where it can't be measured. Distraction is the perfect accomplice in keeping it there, because if you never finish, you never fail. But if you never finish, you also never fly. The antidote is to give your work a finish line from the moment you start and to define what finished for this phase means. Is it a first draft, not perfect prose? Is it a prototype that solves one core problem, not all edge cases? Is it a pilot episode, not a full season? Attach a date and a scope. Turn fog into a fence. Then, when distraction arrives with the promise of safety, you can answer it with a schedule and a definition. I'm not safe, I'm shipping. There's a resilience that comes from surviving your own urges. Each time you sit through the itch without scratching, your nervous system learns that discomfort won't dissolve you. That learning transfers. You become braver in conversations, calmer in crisis, clearer in decisions. People will ask where your composure comes from. You could say meditation or training or maturity, and you'd be partly right. But deeper than that, composure comes from the practice of not abandoning yourself when a lesser pleasure knocks. It's the quiet pride of choosing a greater allegiance. In a world bent on instant soothing, you will be rare, not because you never feel like quitting, but because you've practiced not obeying that feeling. Consider your attention like a lens with adjustable aperture. Wide open, everything is bright, but depth of field is shallow, nothing sharp. Stop it down, and less light enters, but the subject snaps into clarity. Most days do not demand maximum input, they demand maximum intention. Narrow the aperture when you enter your focus block. Let the room go dim until the one thing you came to move forward is crisp. There will be guilt about the emails unanswered, the messages pending, the errands undone. Train yourself to interpret that guilt as a sign you're aimed correctly. Guilt for neglecting what can wait is the tax for honoring what cannot. Pay it cheerfully. The dividends dwarf the discomfort. You may be tempted to measure your value by speed. The internet claps loudest for overnight successes and hypergrowth curves and stories of those who devoured milestones like candy. But longevity is its own genius. It takes wisdom to pace yourself for a life's work. It takes humility to say, I will get there slower and last longer. The tortoise doesn't win by out-sprinting the hare in bursts. It wins by out-lasting the hare's cycles of mania and collapse. Your destiny is not a weekend hackathon, it is a cathedral. Cathedrals are built by generations who lay stones they will never worship under. Lay your stones. Refuse to measure the worth of a day by whether it looked remarkable. Measure by whether it added weight to the foundation. In relationships, expect a period of renegotiation when you change your posture toward distraction. You will have to relearn how to be with people, fully with them, because you have taught yourself to be half with everyone and half with everything else. Practice presence like a craft phone away, eyes up. Questions that go a layer deeper than the usual. Notice what happens. Time with others recovers color. Joy returns to simple things. Ironically, focus in your work often restores focus in your love. You stop sampling your life and you start savoring it. This is not a side effect. It is a sign that destiny is integrating rather than isolating you. At some point, you will be asked to mentor someone less far along. Teach them what you are learning before you feel ready. Teaching sharpens your own discipline because you cannot credibly recommend what you refuse to practice. Tell them the truth about your former habits. The crutches you discarded, the rituals that actually work. Warn them about the seductive forms of procrastination dressed as preparation. Share your scripts for saying no. Give them the phrase that saved you. I have an appointment with my future self. Then model it by honoring your next session, even if they are watching. You owe them your example more than your explanations. There's a doorway every builder must eventually walk through: the willingness to be misunderstood. When you go dark to create, some will assume you're aloof or arrogant. When you say no to invitations that once defined your identity, some will whisper that you've changed. They won't be wrong, you have changed. You are changing from a consumer of attention to a custodian of it. You are changing from a reactor to an initiator. You are changing from someone who waits for permission to someone who grants it to themselves. Be kind in the face of misunderstanding, and keep walking. You do not need universal approval to do universally beneficial work. Near the end of any great effort, there is a valley, the valley of almost. Almost done, almost there, almost launched. This is where fatigue makes foolish offers. Cut this corner, skip this test, ship without the extra pass. The audience won't notice. They might not. But you will, and your standard is the soil your future grows in. Hold the line a little longer. Smooth the edge. Run the check. Ask the colleague you trust for one last pass. Excellence is not perfectionism. Excellence is love made visible as craft. When you honor excellence, your work quietly teaches your audience to expect more from themselves. That is part of your destiny too. If today you feel far from everything I've said, if distraction has won so many rounds you barely recognize the fighter in you, start with a vow so small it feels beneath your ambition: one focused block. Put the phone away, shut the door, breathe, begin. When you finish, write one sentence about what moved. That sentence is a seed. Plant it again tomorrow, water it with repetition, shield it with boundaries. Let the weather do what it does while you do what you decided. Weeks from now, you will harvest a different self, steadier, quieter inside, stronger outside. People will call you disciplined. You'll smile because discipline will no longer feel like iron. It will feel like air. You will wonder how you ever breathed in the smoke of constant interruption. You will wonder why you waited so long to choose yourself back. And when you look at the horizon of your life, clearer now, not because the future is certain, but because your posture toward it is. Take a breath and remember the simple sentence that carried you here: don't let your distractions destroy your destiny. Not in the micro of a minute, not in the macro of a decade. On the days you soar and the days you slog, in the starts and in the middles and in the sacred, stubborn finishes, guard the door, protect the lamp, aim the arrow. Return to the workshop, honor the appointment, and keep moving the one thing that matters next, until the life you were meant to live is not a hope, but a habit. So here is where we land. The bell may still ring. The world may still wave its glittering hands, but you are no longer the person who startles and scatters. You have a workshop to return to, a lamp to keep burning, a lane to honor, a promise to keep. Your minutes are no longer small coins tossed into passing fountains. They are lighthouse oil, poured with care so others can find their shore. You know the posture now. Phone away, door shut, breath steady, eyes on your craft, an appointment with your future self that you refuse to miss. You've learned that the wind doesn't chisel stone in a day. It shapes a cathedral by returning, patient and directional, until the rock finally reveals what was inside. You've learned to draw the bow while the bell rings, to let the ring become your exhale, and to release an arrow that flies straighter because you stayed. And if tomorrow stumbles, you will not spiral, you will resume. If doubt whispers, you will name it and work anyway. When the middle sags, you will keep turning the crank. When the finish line appears, you will cross it clean. This is your closing and your beginning. Do not let distractions destroy your destiny. Guard the door, fan the flame, aim the arrow, and step into the work with the quiet ferocity of someone who finally remembers who they are. Start now. Return tomorrow. Repeat until your life tells the truth you came here to live.